Hey everyone, welcome back to From Girl to Great. This is a special bonus episode of Season 1 of From Girl to Great. It's been such an incredible few months since we wrapped up Season 1. We're already working on Season 2, and our organisation is growing in ways I'd never imagined back when I was recording our first episodes. I want to take a moment to thank our amazing advisor, Dr. Arkell Giorgio, who has been such an incredible mentor and supporter. She's not only guiding From Girl to Great, but has also invited me to be a guest on her show, Speak Up for Your Health, which is such an honour, so definitely check that out when you can. Her wisdom and encouragement have been invaluable in helping us expand our mission. Speaking of expansion, we now have ambassadors in Costa Rica and Atlanta, Georgia, helping to spread our mission of empowering young women in healthcare leadership. We've also partnered with Lake Country Rural Health Initiative, which is doing amazing work to improve healthcare access in rural communities. And we've been publishing new content on our website. Definitely go to fromgirltogreat.com to check out our latest blogs and resources, which range from insights into volunteering at a clinic to interviewing health economists. So here's a question for you. Do you know what your superpower is? I was asked that by 3 of my 5 guests in Season 1, and honestly, I didn't know how to answer them. So I got curious. I wanted to have a response and to know what my strengths were. And as you'll hear in this episode, there's a resource available that can help you discover your superpowers. It's called CliftonStrengths Assessment, and this bonus episode features an expert and executive coach who is going to walk us through it. I've learned so much from this conversation, and I think you will too. So let's dive in. Today's guest is someone who has helped thousands of people around the world discover their unique strengths and unlock their full potential. She's an executive coach, a global speaker, and one of the original creators of Gallup's Global Strengths Coach program. She's spent years co-hosting the popular podcast Gallup Theme Thursday, helping people understand how to use the CliftonStrengths Assessment to grow in work and life. That podcast achieved over 1 million downloads. After 15 years in global management consulting, she now focuses on helping leaders align their careers with their natural talents to lead with confidence, connect more deeply, and live with more joy. My guest is Maika Leibbrandt, a true expert in helping people own their strengths and shape their futures. Maika, thank you for joining me and welcome to From Girl to Great.
Thank you, Alana. What a warm and wonderful introduction.
So I had Season 1 of my podcast where I spoke to lots of trailblazers in the healthcare industry. Several of my guests, of the 5, 3 of them were talking about, your strengths and how that's like such an empowering thing. And one of my guests, Grace Vinton, recommended taking the CliftonStrengths Assessment. She called it in the episode the Strengths Finder Assessment, but it's now renamed to CliftonStrengths Assessment. That is why I decided to reach out to you so we could share to the From Girl to Great audience and young women how you can use the CliftonStrengths Assessment as a student. So for the first question, I was wondering if you could explain what exactly is the CliftonStrengths Assessment and how is it different to personality tests?
Sure. So what it does is it'll identify your most natural ways that your brain succeeds. It's based on 70 years of research, and the main difference I would say is what direction the research goes. So many other personality tests, and I will say any sort of effort that you invest to get to know how you're going to work your best or how you're going to build your best relationships is good. CliftonStrengths started out trying to identify how do successful people naturally think, feel, and behave. It was a very, at the time, revolutionary thought to say, instead of just looking at all the ways that we might mess up, mental health, criminal behavior, where is the research on success? So some of the first people that were studied were salespeople, because you've got targets and numbers, nurses, so thinking about your healthcare audience, teachers, plumbers, pub managers. And from that, a company called SRI, which eventually purchased Gallup, has a tremendous database of how do people naturally think and feel and behave in their zone. So the CliftonStrengths is a way of saying, here are the specific patterns of how you think and feel and behave that can be productively applied regardless of your job or your situation. So it's not going to tell you what field you should go into, but it will tell you when you're in that field or when you're searching or even as a student, how Can you think about setting up your day? What is your best yes that you can give something? What sorts of relationships are going to help you succeed? The philosophy around strengths-based development is that there are some things that you are already, say, ahead of the starting line compared to everybody else. You might not invest in those areas because you feel like you've already got them, sorted. And instead, most of us invest in areas where we know we could use some support. What this is saying is, let's look at the ways that you're going to succeed most naturally. So it is building on what you do really well instead of investing all of your development time on what might be some deficits.
And why do you think it is so important to discover your strengths as a student or as a teenager or a young woman?
I could tell you the data, but you can Google the data. Let me just tell you a story. I just last week was in Boston with this big international tech company. I was specifically working with women in sales. We really wanted to help them grow together, see their future in this organization, but also help them figure out how are they going to solve problems more efficiently and what could we offer them specifically in that experience. So we used strengths. We had some coaching along with it. And there were two women who were, I would say, on the younger end of this group, probably right out of being a student and into being more of a career. And one of them, we went around the table at the very beginning of our time together and said, okay, what have you learned so far? And she said, I learned that I was feeling like an imposter because I was trying to be excellent at the way that everybody around me was excellent. What it gave her, and in her words, what she said it did, was it helped her understand where is she different. And instead of defining success as being just as good as the person who came ahead of you and thinking, wow, I need to do everything just like they did, what strengths allowed her to do was say, I might need to get to the same outcome that those other successful people got to, but the way I get there is going to be unique to me. So learning your strengths does, I think, two things. It helps you identify what you need so that you can be proactive in creating the environment that makes that happen. It also ideally should leave some grace for other people being different, because we no longer have to say success is one direction. Mm-hmm. We can say success happens all around us, and you can partner with people who are different than you without having to feel like you have to be exactly the same as them.
So how can strengths help you better understand your classmates or your friends or even your teachers and family members?
I think strengths is a little bit of a secret language of saying, here's how to connect with me. I think that's something that as women, we all nod our heads saying we need to be better supporters of each other, but we don't really know how. And we rarely actively seek opportunities to promote each other. And if I know exactly what you're known for and what you love and what role you would love to play on a team, then I can be listening for that. And I can speak without a doubt, know that, okay, yeah, she's good at these things, but these other things, put Alana in the ring, she's going to succeed. So it makes us better promoters of each other. I don't have achiever, but my husband and his whole family has achiever, which is one of the CliftonStrengths themes that's about getting more done, starting every single day at 0. When we had our first kid, my husband took leave and his parents came and visited us, and they built a porch and installed an appliance in the kitchen. And I remember just weeping, holding my baby, like hiding in the back bedroom, weeping to my husband saying, you turned this sanctuary of like quiet into a construction zone. This is horrible. And bless his heart, like he knows that this is my jam. This is what I do all day, but he rarely joins me on the strengths conversations. Let's be honest. I remember he got down on his knees and he looked me in the eye and he said, Maika, you know that strength that I have? The one where you get stuff done. And I'm like through tears and hormones going, do you mean achiever? And he goes, yeah, that. You need to know that my parents have it too. And this is just how they're showing love. So I think there's something to be said for individualized perception. And this is a tool that speeds you ahead of that.
Yeah, definitely. So you get 5 strengths out of the 34. Is it possible to grow a strength that you don't have as your top 5?
Probably. The answer is, what's your return on investment? So because there are 34, I believe when you take the assessment, you can choose whether you want to see just your top 5 or all 34. I'll tell you, sometimes people get into this space where they'll say, I don't have this strength in my top 5, but I'm sure it's 11 or 12. So when I'm in a really stressful situation, I'll just be mindful of pulling that strength up. There's 2 problems with that. The first is you probably won't. When your hormones are heightened, you are working off of adrenaline, you are not learning new things, you're not taking social cues, you're probably not mindful of saying, let me behave in a way that isn't quite my natural way. That's pretty difficult. If you really wanted to think about how could you change and really polish your approach, it probably should be, I know this about my top strengths, and I know that there's a danger either to myself or to others when I'm stressed. And so instead of thinking I'm going to be somebody different when I'm stressed, how could you double down on what is the best version of that strength? The other problem, I think, is like, what sort of value are you associating with that strength that you don't have? Because another specific about this assessment is the strengths are not meant to be positively associated with anything other than this is who you are. If you're taking any other sort of assessment where you're like, oh, this is a job interview, and I know that the best performers behave this way, that's something different, I think, where you can say, yeah, I should figure out how I can be more like the best. Within CliftonStrengths, every strength is neutral. There's no strength or set of strengths that's been proven to launch you into success or that's better off if you want to lead people or better off for healthcare. So yes, you could probably with intention say, I really want to focus on showing up and thinking this way and learning from other people who behave this way. I think the missed opportunity would be, what if you put that same attention into growing the strengths that you already have out front?
So looking ahead for myself and many of my audience, how do you think you can use your CliftonStrengths results to make decisions about maybe where you'll go to university or what extracurriculars you're going to do or future careers?
Yeah, this is going to be a hot take for people who like to work really hard, but I would look at your strengths and say, where is it going to be easiest for me to find an environment that will grow these? So look at your strengths and ask yourself, what does this strength crave? What fuels this strength? For example, I have strategic really high. I love getting to pick apart how a plan has come together. So something that fuels strategic is research. It's a place where you can actively ask questions, where it's welcome to be wrong as long as you're talking about how things happened. And strategic ideation positivity, mine, would not look for the same type of fuel that my husband's relator competition achiever would look for. If you're trying to answer that question of like, where's the best place for me? Think about, what are your strengths hungry for? What fuels them? And how easily could you find that in that place?
That's a really good answer. That's going to be really useful for me because I'm applying to colleges this year.
Yeah, think about your strengths being like your board of directors. And imagine before you go into this application process, if each of your strengths could interview that college, what would they want to ask on your behalf? Some of them are going to be asking about how quickly you can get an opportunity to get out there. Others are going to be asking about how relationships are formed. But imagine if your strengths could be the interviewing board, what would they want to ask?
So because I'm a teenager right now, I'm working towards my college applications. Maybe my answers are going to be different to when I'm just starting my career after university. Can your strengths change at different points of your life?
A little bit, yeah. So the research would suggest that it's slightly different for men and women, but basically if you're under 30, and you take it, your strengths are more likely to change than after your late 20s, early 30s. Mm-hmm. The older you get, the less likely your strengths are to change. That being said, there's very strong test-retest predictability. CliftonStrengths test-retest average is above 70%. There are a couple things that would encourage your strengths to change. One would be if you are under 30 when you take it. The other would be if you took it thinking you were applying for a job. So if you took it thinking there were right answers and you really tried to be outside of your own head when you took it, it could change a little bit. I would say a significant life event will probably change your strengths. Strengths grow in relationship to other people, though. Your strengths become the patterns that you use most when you get positive feedback from people who love you. So the people around you, they grow you. They encourage you to grow the personality that you already have. So I would imagine also if your core community shifts drastically, that might change your strengths as well.
And because you're more familiar with how it all works, where can you find the test?
Oh, yeah, of course. So Gallup's made it really easy now. You can go to gallup.com and you can purchase a code. It's a unique code. There is a CliftonStrengths for Students, which is the one Alana took. And it's the same assessment as CliftonStrengths. It just has a different set of supporting tools on the back end. So someday, Alana, when you want to unlock just the regular CliftonStrengths without the student pieces, you won't have to retake it. You'll just import your results. So really, the idea is we're already measuring how do you most naturally think about this. I would encourage people to grab a coach. Gallup has a coaches directory. If you ever want to have somebody debrief your results with you, the reason that a coach can really help is they are certified in understanding that you assume positive intent, that all strengths are neutral. It's like having a lifeguard look at a big pool with you and say, okay, you're going to avoid the deep end. You're not going to go negative on this. And a coach can also use CliftonStrengths in the context of broader coaching discovery to help you think about, what am I going to do with this?
You were once a teenager and you're a parent now. What's your advice to teenage girls who are preparing for their future?
Oh my gosh, I love that question. Find a tribe, find other women who you admire, and know that they want to admire you right back. And hot take, it doesn't have to be your mom. It doesn't have to be people in your home. Find even, I would say specifically other women or the people who've changed my life. Having a caring adult in your life who's in a different stage than you are helps you navigate the things that feel like they're going to end your life with a great amount of perspective and a whole lot of love.
Great answer. I should have asked you earlier, so you're a coach, right? What does that involve for you?
Yeah, so my career, I spend about half of it one-on-one with people over Zoom, having great conversations and exploring. I think about coaching sort of like sitting next to somebody on a roller coaster. So they're the one who chose the roller coaster. They're the one who set the speed. But after the ride's over, I can go back and say, did you see that? Should we think more about that? What are we going to be more intentional before we get on the next ride? And then when I'm not in that one-on-one space, I also lead facilitated team discussions. So similar approach of leading with appreciative inquiry, a lot of curiosity about what's going on and what's right. But instead of it being one-on-one, I'll do that with teams. So I use CliftonStrengths, but I also use other assessments as well, or other 360 tools or feedback. But primarily my coaching will always come back to strengths, even if it's just the philosophy of let's figure out what lights you up and how to get more of it. Usually in an executive coaching space, the client will bring a specific problem they want to solve. And it's my job to help them explore their own brain in pursuit of, okay, what are you thinking about this? What do you think your options are? What are the ways forward?
Sounds like a nice job.
It's amazing.
Is there anything else you'd like to share that I haven't asked you about?
Not about me. I'm just so impressed by you and this entire idea. Alana, who's I want to explore something, so I'll make a podcast. And every time I have a guest on, I'll make them feel like they're 10 feet tall and bulletproof. This is incredible what you're doing here.
Thank you very much. I'm now getting lots of other young girls involved, so they're going to start taking part with me. So yeah. Thank you so much for joining me and being a guest on this program. Where can people find you and learn more about your work?
Oh, thank you. So on Instagram, which makes me sound so old, I am at Strengths Talk. Or you can also follow me on LinkedIn. Check out my website. It's the easiest way, hellomaika.com. And Maika is Maika.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you so much for speaking to me.
Thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure.
That's a wrap on part 1 of our bonus episode of From Girl to Great. In the next part, Maika and I go through my CliftonStrengths results, and I learned so much. Your strengths might be totally different from mine, but Maika explained how understanding them shape how we see ourselves, how we connect with others, and how we show up at school, work, and beyond. I really invite you to join me for that conversation. But before we go, here are 3 big takeaways from part 1. First, your strengths aren't just traits, they're how your brain naturally succeeds. Discovering them early can help you study smarter, build better relationships, and make more confident choices. Second, instead of trying to fix your weaknesses, focus on what you're already doing well. That's where your energy, excellence, and joy are waiting. And third, knowing your strengths helps you understand others too, making you a better friend, teammate, and future leader. A huge thank you to Maika for sharing her wisdom, and thank you for listening. Make sure to check out our website fromgirltogreat.com to find out about everything else our organisation is doing to empower young women to lead in healthcare. If you want to support what our organisation is doing, consider becoming an ambassador or partnering with From Girl to Great. Being an ambassador involves writing blog posts, interviewing healthcare professionals, attending From Girl to Great events, and more. And partnering with us can help expand your mission and ours, leading to better healthcare in the future. Also make sure to hit follow on your podcast app so you'll know when part 2 of our bonus episode with Maika Leibbrandt drops. See you next time on From Girl to Great.